Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Generationally podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Laurie, and I am very grateful that you have joined in for another podcast episode. Hello. And if you're curious about what Living Generationally is, if you're new to the podcast, you're like, what is this podcast? What is it about? And here at Living Generationally, we get the opportunity to explore how our everyday choices ripple through our lives and the lives of those who come after us. This is where purpose begins, where gratitude grows, and where accountability leads to legacy. And that is awesome because you can join in on that and we can learn together because as you probably may know, I may have said this multiple times over and over again, but I'm 23 and I'm learning and growing and on this journey with you as the Lord stretches me, strengthens me, um, just all the jazz. The Lord is doing so much, and I want you. I want to invite you along in that as I am growing in that and learning. So that's what this is. Yeah. So in this podcast episode, I am kind of just going to just share just some thoughts and just kind of let this be more of how I'm applying living generationally to my life. And I feel like I haven't really gone back to doing those episodes and I would love to like kind of sprinkle those in there, just kind of like how am I applying living generationally and kind of some of those values to my life and how the Lord is stretching me and growing me in that and growing my understanding and what that truly means because it's one thing to kind of um hear about something or kind of initially grasp a concept, but it's another thing when you actually begin to start to like I say chew on it, but you kind of allow it to be like, oh, like transform you and actually become a part of how you live your life. So that's kind of yeah, just what I want to share how I'm growing in that and being stretched in that as well too. Um yeah, I was just been thinking about this with the Lord and just processing something that I've been thinking about is like, what does a life worth living look like to you? What does a life worth living look like according to what Scripture calls us to live like if you're a Christian, you're following the Lord. And this has been something I've been really thinking about because I feel like in a day and age where we have social media, we have technology, we can kind of see each other's life. We can see that a life worth living looks like having all the things that you ever desire in life, having all the money, having going, being able to travel, doing all those different things. And it's like, okay, I've just been thinking, like, Lord, is that literally what a life worth living looks like? Just having everything you want, just having things that you don't need, just being so overwhelmed and overburdened by those things. Something I just is like a thought. This is kind of my mind works. So just I gone one trail and another. But I was listening. I think it was Elizabeth Elliot and her daughter doing a podcast episode, or maybe it was something else. But it was like Elizabeth Elliot's daughter, Valerie Shepherd, had mentioned something. I think she learned from her dad, or maybe she learned it from someone else in her life. I forgot, but I think it goes like be careful to not like have so much clutter that you don't have enough space like for the Lord or something like that. I forgot how it goes. Um, I think it's like yeah, but I'm like summarizing, but we can tend to have so much stuff or just like junk um that it clutters our mind, it clutters our atmosphere, and it kind of takes our focus off of the main things and what truly matters. um and that that thought relates to what I was just talking about because we can see the things on social media and think that, oh, having all those things is what makes a life worth living, where in actuality they can clutter our hearts, our space, our homes, and take our eyes off of the things that truly matter. And that's been something I've been wrestling with. And um, we can be so focused on consuming and that we forget that, wait, life is not just about what I want or what I can get. It's about valuing the things that the Lord values, putting Him first, valuing our family, valuing your marriage if you're married, valuing your kids, your community. These are the things that are so important, and that people are important and the Lord is important, and we can lose the focus of what a life worth living for actually looks like when we have our hearts and minds so cluttered by worldly possessions. And that's been something I've really been challenged by. Um and it's not like minimalism, like have nothing. And I'm not saying that's what minimalism is fully like encompasses, but it's like we can have things that we value and things that add value to our homes, but if they don't add value, and and yes, you can have decorations that can be cute and stuff like that, but I think so much. I think oftentimes we have so many things that it can just distract us from the main things that are truly important. And the Lord has really been challenging me in that. That's something I've been really thinking about and processing through. Um, and actually wanting to be someone who is not so cluttered and not just have things just to have them, but if I have them, are they serving my family? Are there things that I actually need? And if I don't need it, I just don't want to be overwhelmed by those things. And having to keep up with something else is just kind of wanting to be more intentional. And even that, I was listening to a podcast episode of just um, being less consumers and more producers. I think we live in a culture that is focused on consumerism and what do I want? What can I get? And we have things that we don't necessarily need, and we just fill these spaces in our homes just because we can. Um, and I've really been challenged to have a perspective and not just having junk, not just having things to have it, but to have that mindset like, Lord, how can I make things? How can I add value to the home economy? How can I be someone who produces and who creates? And I'm not saying all forms of consumption is terrible. Like we um we are consumers to an extent, like where we buy certain things, and or maybe you're a consumer of a book. I don't know. Like it can be taken in different ways, but it's like I'm learning that I don't want to be someone who's focused on consuming, but I want to be focused on someone who gives life to things, who produces things, who creates, who adds value. And that's been really something that's been stretching me and that I'm learning more about and growing in. And I feel as though it also just gives me this perspective like, Lord, I don't need much. I don't need much in this life to be satisfied. I don't need all the newest things. I don't need to keep up with the Joneses. I don't need those things to have a fulfilling life, to be satisfied. We may have told ourselves that when I get these things, then I'll be satisfied. But we all know that that is not true. We often get those things and we want more and more and more and more. And I'm like, Lord, like, I don't want to be on this hamster wheel where I'm constantly thinking that, oh, once I get this thing, then I'll be satisfied. Once I have this item, I'll be satisfied. And it's like, I want to find my ultimate satisfaction in you. And I've really been challenged with that perspective. And wanting to be intentional in that way. Um, yeah, and it's something that I'm growing in and learning more about, and just learning how to create with my hands and to be someone who is creative, who uses her time wisely. And that's also something else that I've been convicted about and wanting to grow in as well too is like, how am I using my time? Am I wasting my time just watching social media, just being spending endless hours on YouTube, which is my guilty pleasure. I love just watching YouTube videos, and a lot of the stuff is good content. It's like homesteading videos, just advice about different things, and it's so encouraging. But it's like even those good things can become things that are not good, and too much of it can be a bad thing. And I want to be a woman who uses her time wisely. And that doesn't mean that every moment of every second I'm doing something, but that just means I'm being intentional how I'm stewarding the time the Lord has given me. And it's been like, it's a journey, and I'm growing. It's like growing each and every day, just growing and just keep growing and keep growing. Um, but, and it's also like, I'm sure like if you're listening to this podcast, you may be someone who is interested in wanting to live a more intentional life. And with that, that means less technology. It's not that technology in of itself is bad. It's just that our lives can be so consumed by it that it's all we ever do. And we don't have the time to be creative. We don't have the time to be bored and have to entertain ourselves and to build different talents, because we're constantly being overstimulated or stimulated by something and having these dopamine hits, which are not good for us. Um, and just kind of having that be something that we're trained in, and not learning how to actually live in the slowness of life and to appreciate that things actually do take time, and learn to walk that journey of just things, living a slower life. And that doesn't mean that like you don't have responsibilities, or maybe you're in a season of life where things are more fast paced, but it's like just learning to be more intentional with how you're spending your time. 'Cause I think sometimes we're like, oh, I don't have enough time to do this, or I don't have enough time to do that. But like, if we truly sit down and just see where we're giving our time to, I'm sure we all can have a couple more minutes to realize, oh, I'm actually wasting time in this area. Oh, I'm actually wasting time in that area. And it's just really encouraging to uh it's really encouraging as well to just be reminded that like my attention is so important, and I don't want to just, and my time is so important, I don't want to just give those things to anyone or everything, but I want to be intentional and caring for those in my and the Lord has placed in my life. And if you're someone who is learning also about like living generationally and just seeing the importance of um having good community and wanting to pour into those in your life. And if you're married and you have kids, wanting to pour into your kids, that is a good use of your time, and wanting to be intentional in that as well too, um, is good. And you care about being accountable in those different areas of your life. And part of that accountability is, how are you stewarding your time for the Lord? Are you just squandering it away, or are you saying like, Lord, how can I be fruitful in this time that you're giving me? And that could be spending time with Him, that could be serving, that could be doing so many different things. And I think it's important that we ask ourselves those questions. And something like, I've getting back into crochet, like I'm crocheting a bag. I was like, should I show it? Because you may, if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, you might not be able to see. I mean, like getting back into crocheting, like crocheting in this bag, and just wanting to get to just have different skills and talents and things I can pass on to the next generation as well too, and just be an interesting person. Like, I feel like an interesting person just has so many different hobbies that they like, or just they're just so interesting because they have different things that they're involved in. And I believe that we have become less interesting because we're just all of um all of our entertainment, or um things that, yeah, all of our entertainment or things that we could be doing is being taken by the time that we're spending time on social media, or just wasting time on our devices. And it's like, I want to be an interesting person, and I hope that's your goal too, to be more interesting and to live a life worth living, and to live a great story, and to do the crazy things, and do for the Lord, and to be adventurous, and to have fun, and to live for the Lord. Um, is beautiful, and I'm just learning more about that, and I'm just excited as well too. And some days could be like, even today, like I'm like taking these steps. I'm like, Lord, like, what am I doing? And in that, I started a conversation with the Lord, when I was like asking the Lord questions like that I had on my heart, or things that I was struggling with or wrestling with. And it became an overall good day. I did some crocheting. I read my book, did some cleaning. Um, I listened to an audiobook, had a phone call with my friend. It was like an intentional, beautiful day. And it's like I'm so used to being entertained by someone else's life through social media or through YouTube, that my own life gets so disinteresting. I don't know if that's a word. But my own life becomes less interesting, and I am not involved in my own life, or that my own life, like, not the I'm not looking I don't know if the word is lethargic. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. But I almost become more, it's like, so disgusted with my own life, because I am so used to living someone else's life, that I am not content with the things that I have, and the skills that I could be growing in, or the talents the Lord has given me that I could be growing in, but I'm too busy like being entertained by someone else's life. And I say all these things just to share where I am, and what the Lord is teaching me, what a life worth living looks like, and what a life that isn't worth living looks like as well too. And it's okay to be bored. It's okay just to sit there. It's okay to just allow your brain to rest as well too. I've found that those are my most creative moments, is where I can just sit and be silent, and then I'm like, oh, I can do this, or I can do that. And it becomes a really awesome day or moment as well too. But yeah, I just want to encourage you to think about what a life worth living looks like, in Scripture, and how the Lord is calling us to live, but also, what does it look like to you to have a life that's worth living? Does it look like just being distracted all the time by your phone, or does it look like actually creating a beautiful life, with others, and walking in community, and loving on your kids, and, or if you're married, your husband or your wife, and just building a life that is beautiful and as inviting. And I'm just excited about that, and so joyful about it as well too. To continuously grow, and to see what the Lord has in store. And um yeah, just, that's my living generationally moment, and just kind of how the Lord is teaching me to walk in that, and to see every day as an opportunity to steward it for the Lord. And I even have an opportunity to go outside and go for a walk. It was drizzling, but it was beautiful. I was talking to the Lord, just walking as well too. And it's like, even those moments, I gotta kind of like retrain my mind to appreciate it, because it's like I can't truly appreciate the beauty of it, because I've been so distracted, and that can't even appreciate the beauty of going on a walk and talking with the Lord, and seeing creation, and just being neighborly. It's just, I feel like those gifts, or those things, are just so beautiful, and I can become so apathetic to them, because I've had an appetite for things that aren't actually real, aren't actually real life, or at least my real life, my reality. And I want to challenge you to think deeply about that, and go to the Lord, and to process, and yeah, so what does a life worth living look like, and enjoy those moments, and make the most out of them. And be bored sometimes. Just sit there, just relax, and just rest and reflect. I'm learning that can be moments of reflection as well too. Um, in moments of prayer, praying for those who you love. Um, yeah, I just want to encourage you, and it's an encouragement to my own heart as well too, as I'm growing and learning as well too. I'm on this journey with you. I haven't arrived. Um, yeah, I hope that you're encouraged by this podcast episode, and it's a rather shorter one, but it's okay. Um, yeah, and until next time, live with legacy, leading to the future. Goodbye, friends.